So, David,
Mm-hmm.
how's it going?
Man, it's been a week in adult world. Life, new baby, and
Yeah. How's that going?
I love her. I think it's important that I preface with that. She's really decided to get on my schedule since I work third shift and I stay up with her all night, which would be cool. In theory, it sounds like you hang and bond with your baby all through your waking hours, and you guys are besties. But it's not been the case here lately. She screams at my face a lot. When I say a lot, for multiple blocks of minutes/hours. But I believe we can work past it. So, but yeah, that results in very low sleeps. But she I haven't decided to put her outside. Make her an outside child.
Bring in the dog and put out the kid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So overall, I'd say things are great. Got a new phone.
Excellent.
That's been hell on my life for the past 4 or 5 days.
Right.
But yeah, my phone just went black screen. Wouldn't wake up. And then when it would wake up, I'd have half my screen, around where your keyboard is.
Right.
But only sometimes. So you can use the keyboard some, but if you wanted to tap, say, a search bar towards the top of the screen,
nothing doing.
Yeah, you're out of luck with that one. So I switched that. Got the new one. Been setting that up. Have no contacts. Couldn't transfer any of my information yet. So that's first world type problem. So
right,
things could be worse. How about you, Billy? Man, how was your week?
Weekend was good. We we hung out and celebrated everything. Wife had a birthday, so
yes, happy birthday, Amy.
Indeed, it was good. But work super short staffed. It's just kind of the bad party line at this point, but we are. Things are good overall.
Again, because of the whack-ass phone situation, I wanted to be involved in some celebration, but I couldn't communicate.
Well, so good news. That celebration that you were supposed to be involved in was canceled. So
I saw that message. Couldn't do anything about it.
Well, it hasn't been rescheduled yet, so you haven't actually missed anything.
Fantastic.
But we are here today to talk about something very important.
Super important.
I appreciate the use of the word super.
Super.
Yes. My Hero Academia.
Yeah. Plus Ultra.
Yes, and beyond.
Mm-hmm.
Now I kind of want fan art of Buzz Lightyear's All Might, or vice versa. 2 Plus Ultra and beyond. Perfect. But anyway, you recently caught up on the series, and not to be that guy, but I've been caught up.
You get it, Billy.
Yeah.
You weep.
Yeah, me and that All Might body pillow.
Oh, I need one of them.
Super huggable.
So just
I don't have one. I'm sad.
We may have discussed this in the first episode, but I've never been huge on anime necessarily. I understand why people like it. It's stories, but animated.
Right.
And sometimes they get wild. It's just never been something that I've really caught on to, but this is one of the few that really grabbed my interest. And I'm not super educated on the world building and everything in it or any of it. I just really like the show because superheroes are cool.
Right.
And a lot of these, it's your basic usual trope for an easily digestible anime, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Young kid thinks X type of character is cool, wants to be happens to meet this type of character, and it, blows his mind, and then things only get crazier from there. So, yeah, I'm a fair weather weeb, I guess.
Well, like you said, it's not My Hero Academia, and you guys can feel free to disagree with me on this, but it's not reinventing the wheel for the most part. I think what really kind of, in my mind, really sets MHA apart is the power scaling. Midoriya punched a mountain, and there's a giant hole. There's a big dent in the mountain, but the mountain's still there.
Right.
I mean, aside from All Might smashing, a city block or two, that's about as powerful as people are, really getting.
Pretty much.
Like, so we don't have Superman out there, pushing planets around.
Right.
So I feel like it's a more down to earth kind of,
right.
if you can call it that superhero experience.
Yeah. At the same time, though, something that really I think that made me stick with it is like, if you have never watched an anime in your life or you haven't watched My Hero, it's that. So like, the premise is that they live in a world where I believe it was 80% of people are born with some type of quirk.
Yeah, it was 70 plus. I don't remember exactly the percentage, but it's way up there.
Way past half.
Yeah.
Anyway, so, but the kicker is that some of those people are born with strange, quote unquote pointless quirks that don't seem to do much. Like, their fingers stick to things better.
Right.
And I mean, they get bigger than that, obviously, but like, that's, sometimes you draw the sweet straw and sometimes you don't. But then just also the diversity of types of powers that they get. Like I said, you get those baseline. Like, a kid might have a lizard head and he can shoot bolts, like not lightning bolts, but like actual metal bolts out of his hand.
Right.
And like, what does that do? But then you've also, like you said, All Might got the power to level city blocks and just use air currents to flatten people.
Right.
Which is very cool, and I think it I don't know. I like that not everybody is just an outstanding badass.
Right. One thing that's kind of cool for me, anyway, because it's like in a school setting. Mm-hmm. We get exposés on pretty much the entire class 1A.
Yeah.
And that's something that a lot of other series kind of neglect, is a lot of the side characters don't get any love.
Right.
You got Dragon Ball Z.
But yeah, you've got your base in most of the animes that I've watched, even, which is not many, but in most of them you've got your base like 3 to 5 characters who they really focus on, and then this cameo might pop up and he's got a wacky cool thing that he does, but then he, like, 3 episodes later he's gone.
Right.
So yeah, being in a school setting, like, you can't really kill off a school kid all that. I mean, sure you could, but like, then why would you invest the time to create the character?
Right. Spoiler: it's not that kind of anime, people. This is not Attack on Academia. This is different.
Yeah.
But yeah. So who's your favorite character?
I really like. I think it's Kajiro. I think his real name is Kajiro or Kajira. But but Red Riot.
Yes, the name we can actually remember.
Yeah. That's that. I mean, you got Clark Kent. You can remember that Superman, but there's 4 different Green Lanterns that people are aware of.
Right. Just the ones from around here.
Right. Just so yeah. Red Riot. He's got a quirk that he can harden his skin, which again sounds really boring, but then when you really look at it, like, the more he gets hit, the harder he can make his skin, and the more shots he can take.
Right. Which
again establishes a similar trope to your classic comic book heroes, where, say, the Hulk, the more he gets hit, the stronger and angrier he gets.
Right.
So, yeah, Red Riot, I think, is my favorite in the show.
I mean, I feel that he had that really cool team up with Sweet Gum.
Yeah.
And that was Fat Gum. Yeah, I don't know. Gum's in the name. Gum Man.
Give me Gum.
different anime, I think. But anyway. But yeah, with Fat Gum, and that was honestly one of my favorite fights in the entire show.
Right. He has had some really good the episodes that he's in, because let me bitch a little bit. He doesn't get a lot of love, like a lot of attention.
Yeah,
but,
you're right.
But the ones where he does, they really play him up, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, and I also enjoy his interactions with Tetsu from 1B.
Right.
The dude who turns into steel.
Right.
Like, just knock off Red Riot, if you want to call him that.
Yeah. I'm sure he gets that a lot too.
Yeah. I mean, he's basically Colossus, but anyway.
But without the accent.
Yeah, which is less cool.
Right. Hot take. Colossus's accent is what makes him so cool.
Yeah, you're right. less of a hot take, but I'm considering starting a petition to trade the little perv with the grapes for hair. Mineta. I'm gonna start a petition to trade him with Tetsu Tetsu. Just give him the class 1B, and we'll take Tetsu Tetsu.
Yeah. Like Mineta provides a comic relief that we didn't really ask for.
No, nobody asked for it. I don't even think they actually animate him. I think they just kind of like make an episode
He's got
and then they
4
come back
different poses, and they just like, let's slap him in there. Remember, we started him and then we just let him die.
Yeah. Nobody liked it. But anyway,
he did. Okay, I will interject and say that he's had one episode or one arc of episodes where his little like bouncy grapes actually helped out in one situation, but at the same time it was basically like a pop quiz,
right,
where it did so it's like, I mean, good job, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like
it was very what's the word I'm looking for here, novel.
Yes.
Yeah, like it was just,
very niche.
Yeah, like one time I did a cool thing, like, yeah buddy, but we were 100 episodes in by then.
Right. And I mean, honestly, if I had to choose between getting my ass handed to me and having him on the team, I'd just take the beating.
Right. It helps to remind you who you are. It's a humbling experience to get your ass kicked versus having to listen to that character.
That's right. No, I definitely feel you there.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, I mean, props to MHA because it is hard to pin down favorite characters. I love All Might to death. And he easily takes my second fave spot. But my favorite has to be Aizawa, Eraserhead.
Oh right, yeah.
I just love the deadpan, just practicality of it.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, if I look at you, you can't do anything.
Right.
Yeah.
But like they gave him a really powerful power in that sense, but then they gave him a perfectly relatable weakness in the fact that if he blinks, it shuts off.
Right. Also, he's always tired.
Always tired.
Always tired.
I think that might be a different condition.
Right. Also, but also that makes him way more relatable.
Yeah. No, that's legit. I'm still trying to figure out how to get one of those sleeping bags that he's always in.
He's an actual adult, and I appreciate that.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, he is. He is the everyman in a way.
Mm-hmm.
But no. So you caught up. You're not ahead in the manga or anything, right?
No, I'm right on top of my episodes / manga reading is right on top of each other.
Okay. So for the record, spoilers for My Hero Academia up through, I guess it's season 5.
Yeah, I mean we could probably keep it manageable. But,
yeah. Anything. This is anything in the manga that might answer questions that we're about to talk about. We know there's more out there. We've chosen not to delve into that.
Right. Also, this is episode 2, so we're operating under the assumption that at least for a long time, if you're not interested in anime, you're probably not going to listen to this episode.
That's also
so we
true.
Don't feel quite so bad.
Yeah. One thing. Okay, so I'm like a puzzle solver when it comes to. I chase a lot of little threads.
I love that about you.
So I want to get your thoughts on a couple of my I call them conspiracy theories.
Let's go. I love to pick things apart.
What do you think All Might had a pre-existing quirk before he received One for All, and what was it?
Man, that's an excellent question. Because One for All is so huge. It's such a big thing. So even if he did, it was obviously overtaken.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, since One for All is made up of all its previous users, he had to have something in there,
Right. I think so. In some of the visions that Midoriya gets, like you see all the previous, users, and they at various times they mention the number of quirks that have yet to be discovered. Off the top of my head, I don't remember the numbers, but it seems to indicate that they pretty much all must have had a quirk.
Right. It seems like, I don't know why, but the number 8 is really prevalent. Like, All Might was maybe number 8, or maybe Midoriya is number 8.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I don't remember off the top of my head.
I mean, there's more than 3 or 4.
Right. I think that his quirk, normal people don't, like, even so Midoriya didn't get one for all and then suddenly get super swole.
Right,
didn't have.
obviously.
Normal people don't go from being this anorexic looking crackhead to being...
No offense to the crackheads. If you're listening, we love you too.
Right, I mean...
Stay over there, though.
Yeah. do your crack elsewhere. You know, you don't go from being this emaciated looking dude to just flexing and suddenly you're 7 feet tall and like 600 pounds. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So maybe he had a basic regular super strength type thing going.
Well, I think so. He said that whenever he first got one for all, he was able to handle it at 100% like immediately.
Really? Okay, I missed that.
But prior to that, he had no quirk according to him. He was quirkless, and that's why he resonated with Midoriya.
So maybe he's a catalyst.
Yeah, I think he had a quirk that just never had the occasion to come out. I think his quirk was being able to handle like
immense stress or
something like that. Yeah, and it's some sort of adaptability quirk. Right. And when he received one for all, that came out.
That's a solid. If I can interject,
yeah,
that's a solid assumption because you look at him now, and after he's passed along the quirk, obviously he's been handling it for a long time, or at least in the world a long time, and
right.
For something that he can kind of turn on and off.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when he turns it on, he's broad-shouldered, thick-chested, just an absolute unit.
Right.
And then when he turns it off, he's like you said, he looks like a dog that somebody's left out and forgotten to feed.
Right.
Which is sad.
Yeah.
But
and I mean, in which Midoriya only uses one for all, 5 to 15, 20%.
I was going to say 20 is about max at the moment.
But we have seen him bust it out at 100% before.
Right, but with additives.
Right, and he also destroyed his body.
Right.
But he never changed his size, so
right.
That's kind of where I'm getting that.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, feel free to interact with us, guys. Hit us up in the comments. Tell us what you think of our theories here.
Absolutely.
I think there's more to All Might than what even he really knows.
And the bummer part is, just watching the show, realizing that he's probably going to be close to death or long gone before we really figure out what that may be or may have been.
Right.
Well,
I mean, with the introduction of Eri, that's really the most. Eri has been the biggest MacGuffin plot device the show has produced.
Super wild card.
I mean, I could see them doing something with her to bring him back, at least temporarily. I don't think he'll ever be fully restored, quote unquote.
Sure.
But I do think we haven't seen the last of All Might, especially since we keep seeing him train.
Right.
I think he's going to get his day again.
Right. Well, I mean, since where we are where I am in the series / in the manga is that there's something big coming down the pipeline. We don't know how soon, but I'd say fairly soon.
Right. I mean, I really feel like they'll bring him back eventually once All for One is free again and so on and so forth.
Yeah, he's gonna have another day in the sun.
Oh yeah, like everything, like they keep saying that Shigaraki is his chosen or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is all just. I think it's all just smoke and mirrors.
Oh, yeah.
He's got this long game plan going. Mm-hmm. And even though he may Shigaraki may be an important piece or whatever.
Sure.
I really don't think.
Yeah, no, he's not the be all end all.
No, One for All is. I feel like it is very core of his character, a very self-centered individual. He's going to live forever. He's going to be the god of the world, and so I don't think he'll ever try to play second fiddle to Shigaraki.
No, absolutely not. Sidebar.
Yeah.
In relation to Shigaraki, is it Kuwagara, the smoke guy that opens portals?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Yeah. The butler.
Yeah, basically. He had a very small. There was a very small scene in one of the episodes I watched where Aizawa and somebody else were almost interrogating him.
Present Mike.
Yeah, Present Mike. We're almost interrogating him because, as it turns out, they used to be pals back in the day in school, and like that really piqued my interest because until that episode, and this character's been around since basically the beginning, as far as I know, until that episode, I never gave him too much thought outside of like when a battle happens.
Right.
So that's really cool too, is that they'll eventually reach back and tag back to characters that you've seen but didn't really pay attention to, and then give them a little bit more.
Yeah, I do think there's a lot of subtle drops here and there, maybe even more so than people.
I'm sure notice. If I started again and watched it all over again, I would pick up way more.
Right.
But, who's got the time?
Certainly not me. I mean, I have seen part of the series twice. I started it and then I started over to watch it with my wife.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, rewatching anime is, especially the shonens, that gets lengthy.
Mm-hmm.
But speaking of threads though, so who do you think's going to turn out to be the traitor? Like that's one of the big reveals that I know has been revealed in the manga, but like I've stayed away from knowing who it is.
Right.
But so like I know the question's been answered, but I don't know.
It's I have the answer. And I will say that character was definitely not who I expected, but also basically created to be.
Okay.
And where I'm at, you're still not 1,000% sure that it's completely devious. But it was. I will say that when I saw it, I was like, okay, well, yeah, of course it was.
So I'll be honest. Because I'm a thread puller. Puller. I pretty much suspected virtually everyone. I even suspected All Might. At one point.
Right? No, I did too for sure. But then,
like, not consciously, but like,
but I even suspected our favorite little grapehead to be one for a second. But then I was like, he's really not important enough. What's he really got?
My take on it was that we couldn't get that lucky.
Touche.
I basically went outside and sacrificed goats about that. I was like, look, by the new gods and the old, please let this little shit be the one.
It's too easy.
It's
too good of a thing.
All the goats came back to life. Like they just.
You're ready.
Yeah.
You're grasping at straws here, Bill.
Yep. But no, I've had a couple of like after they revealed Night Eye had read All Might, I discounted him.
Right.
Because Night Eye's seen his future. Kind of the same thing with Midoriya. Night Eye has read Midoriya at least to an extent.
Midoriya's he's got to be our martyr. Like he doesn't have a choice in this.
Right.
So
my chief suspects Present Mike.
That one I could have saw. He seems a little devious. Also boisterous. So you suspect him more.
Yeah, and Present Mike was mostly just meta because he was this one of the more present side characters,
right?
And he was close enough with like Aizawa and everybody,
right?
It would have felt like a true betrayal,
right? But also he's just detached enough.
Yeah,
he doesn't play a lot of big roles in any of the fights. He's literally just an announcer,
right? He's on my list. Invisible Girl, whose name I can never remember.
Right.
Partially just because she's invisible, but partially because I don't trust the explanation of her quirk.
Yeah, she's just a pair of floating gloves and stuff.
More on that conspiracy later. My prime suspect, number one suspect, is Can't Stop Twinkling.
Okay. Let's hear about this, Billy.
Okay.
Play it out for me.
So, for starters, he doesn't belong. Like he has a very niche utility. He has no real reason to think that he's ever going to get the hang. Going into the college, like entrance exams. Mm-hmm. He has no reason to think he's ever going to be able to do anything more than 3 blasts and then puke.
Right, and then he's out.
Right, and he does not have any sort of iron will resolve.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point he mentions something like he's trying to feed Midoriya cheese.
I was gonna bring that up. Yeah, what the hell was that? And like Midoriya wakes up in the middle of the night and there's just cheese by his window, and I'm talking like 2 a.m. It felt like so like.
Yeah.
The easiest assumption is a crush, but then we never touch back on that.
Well, so he does eventually confront him and like, hey, dude, what's up with all the cheese?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, and they have this conversation where Can't Stop Twinkling's basically like, you feel like you don't belong, or you feel like you don't belong too, or something like that. And he says something about how he shouldn't be here, and so on and so forth. And I kind of feel like that kind of made me feel like he's feeling this weird guilt because he's a plant,
mm-hmm.
you know. But
okay, interesting take. I like
also outside of Grapehead,
mm-hmm.
The absolute last person anybody's going to suspect of anything even remotely intelligent, because he has 13 IQ points and 12 of them are glitter. All right,
I love it. Okay.
So like. And to everybody who's a big fan of Can't Stop Twinkling, I'm sorry, I don't resonate with him, and I find him suspicious.
Super suspicious.
But anyway, it's probably none of the people that I mentioned. But that's kind of where I'm at right now. Like I said, some of my stuff is way out there.
Oh sure. I wanted it to be. I can't remember her name, but the girl that basically produced a cannon. Out of her body.
Yeah.
Just because, like, that would have been a big shocker because she is so gung-ho for the team.
Right.
But, yeah, there hasn't been enough lines drawn for that, which is what made me suspect her. But then at the same time, like, they have to build that bridge at some point, and I don't feel like they have.
Right. I'll tell you somebody else that I do kind of suspect, and that's Asui.
Oh, Froppy.
Yeah, Froppy. Yeah. And that's just because
she's an amphibious / reptilian character.
Well, no. So when Midoriya and crew were hatching their plan to rescue Bakugo, she did everything in her power to stop that. Like on the surface, like maybe she was just concerned. Like her explanation makes sense. At the same time, the students who went were like, if there was a monkey wrench to be thrown in that plan, those were the ones that were going to throw the monkey wrench.
Right.
So, like, I kind of felt like she was trying to eliminate some wild cards on behalf of All for One. But once again, I don't really have any evidence for that beyond just that kind of suspicion. And that's something that I do, like I said, that I love about the show. They dropped some hints, like they've told us that there's a traitor. But there's still a mystery.
That's all they've told you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta.
It's not 100% telegraphed.
As a person who also has trust issues, like I definitely am the person who will dig a little deeper than is really necessary, but like right next to the hole.
Oh yeah.
You know? Right. So no, I like that though. I will say Froppy didn't come up on my radar, but you did have a point. I felt like it was just because she didn't like Bakugo.
Look, I mean, I get it.
He's easy to dislike.
I mean, he's only threatened to kill each and every one of them a dozen times for not walking behind him.
Right.
I mean, no other reason.
Right. He's got a chip on his shoulder, obviously, which is goofy. He's the high school jock who believes he deserves it.
Right.
As a character, and those characters are easy to hate, but truly, I really like Bakugo.
Oh yeah, no. I like him as a character, and a little bit as a person. Like, don't get me wrong, he's a dick. But
you need that, like, especially in anime, that eclectic, like, just loud, annoying bastard,
right?
Who's mad at everything. Yeah.
Somewhere there, though, there's I do think there's a bit of a good person, at least a redeeming quality or two.
Oh, absolutely.
In there somewhere.
He's still there for the team. He just doesn't want people to think that he likes them.
Yeah. Especially Midoriya. I think with the exception of Midoriya, I think most of the team knows that he's going to go to bat for them when the chips are really down.
Right.
At least after his display in the team fights where he was like a team leader or whatever,
Right.
Versus the other class.
And it's a good spot for him.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's a good shot caller.
I would say, like, if you were to, without knowing, if you just looked 10 years into the future, Bakugo will be one of those dudes who has a hero agency.
Oh, yeah.
And is very well respected.
Mm-hmm.
But also, he's kind of an asshole to work for type thing.
Right.
Right.
He's got the Sonic the Hedgehog thing going on, where like he doesn't stop to think, and that's part of what. Like, well, it doesn't look like he is thinking things through more. Like he actually has a plan,
right?
But
he does not share it with anyone,
right? He doesn't pull the Midoriya and he doesn't sit there and overanalyze,
right?
He's like
more on the fly.
Yeah, he gets the idea and he goes for it,
right?
And I think that's one of his strengths,
right? It is one of his strengths, and also maybe it correlates to his. I'm sure they made it correlate to his quirk,
right?
But then his quirk is pretty. I mean, love him or hate him, the quirk is badass too,
right? Like I really would, and I really would not have expected essentially nitroglycerin sweat to be as cool as it has turned out to be.
Right. And that's a really cool thing too. Like where they, again, I mean, they're building this world for us and giving it to us, but then when they explain it to you, they just make it so like, well, of course that's how it works,
right?
You know. But yeah, nitroglycerin sweat stored in a giant gauntlet, and you can just. Yeah, it's the chef's kiss. Right. Yeah.
For sure. So, just super sidebarring here, because I wanna talk to people about this.
Let me have it.
There's so Invisible Girl.
Mm-hmm.
Up until they were doing the team battles, and she did the sort of like disco ball thing where she was like shooting out light, like reflecting light and trying to erase shadows.
Right. Did she do anything like that?
Not anything that wasn't just associated with being invisible.
Right.
And up until that point, I was 100% convinced that she wasn't invisible in the least. Which, I mean, the way it looks now is she's bending light. Is what she's doing. But up until then, I was convinced she was not invisible. She was psychic, and she was just willing everyone around her to not see her.
Right.
And which is part of why she got on my radar for being the traitor, because that's just who else is going to be a traitor besides the psychic? But now that we've kind of seen her do that and be the disco ball and so on and so forth for the concert,
she does feel a bit like filler, if we're being honest. I mean, I literally can forget she exists, or even like I'll get her confused with the acid girl.
Oh yeah, Pinky.
Yeah, which she's fun. She's got a good character, and she's had some interaction with Red Riot.
Right. Yeah, I mean, not that I'm well versed in the lore or anything, but Pinky. Acid Girl, I can't remember if that's her actual code name. She seems very much like the Pinkie Pie, like a very direct My Little Pony,
right?
Parallel. Mm-hmm. But like you said, she's fun. But that's also part of why I think there has to be more to Invisible Girl's power than what they've shown, because out of everybody, she's gotten essentially the least love.
Right. Yeah.
Even Class 1B characters have gotten more love.
Right.
Than she has.
Speaking of, was the guy that was working for Fat Gum before Riot showed up with? He's one of my favorite. Like, we've talked about it, but he's one of my favorite like background characters that we've seen that I don't feel has gotten enough attention. But he just eats things and then gains the properties in his body.
Sun Eater.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's got a badass name on top of it. Like, what? I want to see this guy's story arc. He needs a side piece or something.
Yeah, I mean, for a character who is billed as one of the big three, honestly, really, aside from Lemillion, the big three really haven't gotten a lot of time in the sun.
No.
Like, it's really the big one and his two
Right.
his two chair bearers, kind of. Like
Lemillion, they did that on purpose, though. He was on such a pedestal, and they forced you to love him. Like, even if you're the type of person who refuses to do so, like, he's just he's literally a golden boy.
Yeah.
Can do no wrong.
Yeah. And I didn't really resonate that much with Lemillion until his fight with Overhaul.
Right.
Which I imagine that's like there's tens of thousands of people who are the same way. Like
right.
I think that was really his big moment.
Right. That's what he's there for, really. And now he's basically support.
Yeah, for now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure he's another one that we'll get to see more of eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Especially since Night Eye read him.
Right.
But yeah, like I would love to see Sun Eater get more time in the sun. Ironically.
Right.
And I feel really bad. I cannot remember her name, but the girl with the swirly energy from the Big Three. I wish I could remember her name. I'm terrible with names.
Surge. Her quirk is Surge, I think, is the one you're talking about.
Yeah.
She can manipulate energy and air currents and stuff like that.
She. I mean, she's gotten some screen time. Probably a little bit less than even Sun Eater. And
we're talking about the one on the Ryuku team, right?
Yeah.
Team Dragoon or whatever.
Yeah, Team Dragon, let's go.
Yep.
I'm not a huge fan of characters who are just there to fill spots.
Right.
So I really want, especially her, to get more love.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of characters, well, that's really not fair to say, but Uravity.
Okay.
Like, I go back and forth with her. Like, is she going to be a big player, or is she just the quick, like, stepping stone in a battle or whatnot?
Is she truly the Sakura of this Naruto Sasuke Sakura parody? Yeah, she's got a really cool quirk and concept.
Right.
She's not done a ton with it just yet. I think whenever I think at some point she's going to have that level up moment where it clicks that she doesn't just have the ability to turn off gravity, but she can increase it.
Right. That makes the most sense.
I think we're going to wind up. I think she's going to get a big power boost, and I just hope they capitalize on it to make things cooler.
Right.
Because right now she is just kind of that. She's the obligatory pink love interest,
right?
Almost, and I kind of hate that.
Mm-hmm. And it's almost like maybe getting further into the series, they've like shied away from that a little bit. Because he's obviously still got a little bit of a crush on her, but also there's lots of big things happening, so we can't pay her a lot of attention, which I believe is the spot to make her character develop. So we don't look at her as just this, like, oh, of course she's leveling up because her and Midoriya are hanging out more or whatever. Like, so this is her chance, I think, to get her own, like, redemption's not the word, but like her own development, right? Self-exploration type of thing.
Yeah.
And like, I thought it was really cool that she wound up on the Ryuku team as well, because those are a couple of heavy hitters anyway, and I feel like that could really drive the character to be a bigger character, like a bigger player and things.
Yeah, and I'm going to preface this by saying that I have no problem with girl power, but I was a little bit worried when they first revealed that team up that it was just going to be like the token girl power team, and even though they're still dancing a little bit dangerously on that line, they didn't go full in with that. So. I'm hoping, like you said, that she continues to develop. And honestly, I think the best thing for the entire class would be if the story takes like somehow just separates Deku from the rest of the class.
Right. I
think his absence would be such a huge catalyst for multiple members of Class 1A. Especially Bakugo and Uravity. Because, a lot of their personalities revolve in a way around him. And I think that taking him out would help both of them explore who they really are outside of him.
You want to know who speaking of, the other characters getting their time to grow and change, I feel like Todoroki is sandbagged so fucking hard. So, like, I truly, realistically, like, at this point, spoilers, at this point, his dad is number one hero, like, on the list. Obviously a powerhouse, and then Todoroki has his power, plus the complete opposite, which is, the whole ice thing.
Right.
And with somebody who has that much potential, like, it would be easy to just shoot him to the moon, and I think maybe that's why they're sandbagging him so hard.
Right.
But he at the same time, it's like, take his fucking training wheels off.
Right.
Like, let's give him at least a few episodes to really show his stuff.
I think they will eventually. I think they're laying the groundwork for that a bit.
Right. And to be fair, for as much groundwork as they've laid, it should be stupendous when it happens.
Right. So I think so Endeavor, once again, spoilers.
Mm-hmm.
Insert adorable spoiler mascot here.
Mm-hmm.
But
and their relationship is such a classic trope too. Like,
right.
The father-son who don't get along, and father used to be a jackass, and he's starting to become a better.
Yeah,
which also paints some pictures.
Yeah, he's getting his redemption arc, sort of.
Right.
Like, it's hard to get a redemption arc when you've been shown to be an abusive piece of crap. But they're still honestly like making some good work. And I think there's going to be just a touch more redemption, and then I think he's going to fight Dobby, who I think is going to wind up being some sort of relative.
Okay. Hot take. I like it.
He's going to fight Dobby. Dobby's going to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
And then Todoroki will get his power boost to avenge his father. Like, not maybe in that moment,
right?
But eventually, maybe in that moment.
Because we've seen that huge levels of stress and, like, being under conditions that you didn't expect can really, like, jumpstart things.
Yeah.
For some of these characters, not for long, but enough to really be like, oh, there it is.
And they could do the thing where Dobby could be whooping Todoroki's butt, and then Endeavor jumps in and takes the shot to save him. That would be another big possibility to me. But I think that's how Todoroki's gonna get his true power unlocked, so to speak.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Most of the rest of the show is going to be Deku unlocking his stuff. We don't have to worry about him.
On the flip side of things, though, I like how they sandbag Deku, because he's obviously already such a heavy hitter.
Right.
And, like, it took him this long to get some sentiment of control over, One for All.
Right.
That just the base One for All, but now that some of the other powers are starting to emerge.
Right.
Yeah, he needs that. That character needs the sandbagging. Todoroki, on the other hand.
Yeah.
But I think at the same time, the sandbagging is what's going to keep you, if you love Todoroki, keep you loving Todoroki as a character. Yeah.
And I think he keeps him relatable.
Sure.
I think what Midoriya needs more than anything is like a crisis of, not exactly a crisis of faith, but a crisis of morals.
Right.
Yep. I think he needs some internal conflict. Because I'm gonna shoot myself in the foot here. I don't like him.
Okay.
He is self-righteous, hero worshipping. Crybaby's not the right word, but he's a child.
Right. No, I agree. His lack of self-confidence is what drives him as a character.
Yeah.
What makes him relatable, but also what. Yeah. He draws a lot of lines to my least favorite Green Lantern, human Green Lantern, in Kyle Rayner.
Yes.
Because he was at least canon, one of the most powerful Green Lanterns, if not the most powerful Lantern, because he took on all the spectrums.
Right.
But the whole time he's like, I don't know if I can do it. Like, what have you done so far that makes you think you can't do this?
Right. Yeah.
Whatever the situation is, understand if it's at the beginning of your hero's journey, why you would feel that way.
Right.
But when you've done such just incredibly power-crept types of actions, and you're still like, I'm not sure if I can pull this off. Like, it's getting a little played out.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think there's some morally ambiguous stuff going on with the winged guy. His name I somehow Hawks.
Hawks. Yeah.
I'm just having a moment, guys.
No, he has such a cool power too. I really like at least his quirk anyway. I like that character, and then he's also the aloof, like, I don't care what happens, man. I'm just out here heroing.
Right.
Which is a love to hate kind of thing, because everybody else is so serious, and he's like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah. Right now, it looks like he's off doing some kind of shady stuff at the behest of essentially the government.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, arguably maybe for the greater good, but he's. It kind of looks like he kind of stabbed Best Genius in the back.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of think that because we're coming up on the big fight there in the city between the Metahuman Liberation Front and it's freaking everybody.
Right.
And I think some stuff's going to come out that's going to kind of like some people are going to be like, yeah, no, we get it, the greater good. Like it's not great, but we get it.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's going to be people who are like, no, like that's never okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's going to be sort of a divide in amongst the heroes because X-Men, there's a recurring theme of mutant registration,
right?
And in Japan, maybe even the world in MHA is kind of presented as sort of the best case scenario for metahuman registration.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody registered their powers. Not everybody wound up in experiment tanks and work camps.
Right.
I think there's going to be. I totally just lost where I was going with
it. We were talking about the divide of the heroes.
The
basic Civil War.
I think we're going to go full Civil War in a way. I think we're going to have heroes who basically the heroes who stay in the organized system of heroes, which is what the Metahuman Liberation Front's all about destroying.
Right.
Essentially, I think we're going to have heroes who stay with that organized hero society, and then people who kind of branch off and are basically become Batman.
Right.
And then of course we're still going to have villains. Some villains maybe less villainous than others.
Right.
But, really not seeing any.
The villains are just there to keep driving the wedge. I feel like.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they're gonna villain.
Yeah.
But
I think there's not really been an anti-hero who's emerged per se, unless you count Endeavor.
Right. Well, they tried to present. What's his name? Stain,
and that's where I was going.
Okay.
I feel like Stain's going to make a comeback.
You think so?
And I feel like there's going to be a relatively small, but still like a small group of the original like Stain supporters.
Right. Tugga's going to be his left-hand guy.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Or
at least try to be.
Yeah. I feel like that this whole setup would be the perfect catalyst for that moral
right.
journey for Deku.
Okay, I'm connecting the dots now.
Yeah. I feel like he's gonna have this conflict. I feel like he's gonna wind up with Stain and company for a little bit, because who better to teach? Stain's got a cool power, but ultimately Stain's really just a dude punching other dudes,
right? Who
a lot of them are stronger,
right?
And
he's crafty,
yeah. And I think that could be good for Midoriya, because we keep seeing people try to teach Midoriya innovation, and
is Midoriya or Batman?
Oh Lord, I hope not.
Touche.
Stain's Batman. Midoriya is like, I don't know,
some weird Robin.
Yeah, he's the dick Robin nobody likes. Yeah, I mean he could be Nighthawk or Red Robin or something like that. But I mean he will eventually become like, the equivalent of Superman level. Like he'll be the top tier shit.
Right.
But I think he needs a similarly ambiguous journey.
Right. I was gonna say he's got to have a really interesting story arc, because the people that love Midoriya already, of course, like, we get why, but they're gonna have to draw some character depth past the whole I'm not sure of myself, but I've got all these powers.
Right.
I'm on par to be, through much more work, it seems like I'm on par to be the next All Might.
Right. And even though the character's been shown to be a hard worker, we get that he's smart.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody loves the underdog, so to speak.
Sure.
Excuse me. But I think for him to really deserve it, I think that there needs to be more to the character, and I think that he's going to have to divorce himself from his love of All Might.
Right.
Because
I feel like that happens, and maybe this is just a premature call, but I feel like that happens after a death of All Might, or some form of betrayal that Midoriya feels because of something involving All Might.
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be a point where they disagree about something,
right?
Or where All Might dies. I mean, really, I feel like if All Might just dies, especially if Midoriya fails to save him,
mm-hmm.
he's just going to enter a place where he's like, well, Night Eye's prophecy was right.
Mm-hmm.
I can't actually change the future.
Right.
I just suck.
Right. And then anger introduced, and then that's.
I mean, shoot, maybe he'll be the actual series villain. I mean, that would be kind of cool.
You know what? Yeah, I mean, it's an easy one to see, but then also I feel like it would still surprise you.
Yeah.
At least in the way it comes about.
And actually, I mean, it kind of seems like I said his name earlier. Captain, I touch you and you die. Shigaraki. Yeah. I mean, like they've kind of been through the fact that he was related to All Might's former sensei.
Right.
And it seems like All For One kind of gets a kick out of the fact that he corrupted him.
Right.
I mean, that could be kind of the last, All For One's last dig at All Might, like All For One defeated, but then he just gives everything to Midoriya in this last act of corruption.
Right.
And then the last fight's just Midoriya versus All Might.
Oh.
Yeah. Like Prime All Might somehow, I don't know. Air Eater, what? But I don't know. Maybe not. We'll have to watch and find out. Okay, right. Thankfully, finally, there's a new season coming.
How soon is that?
I think it's this year. I want to say fall. And I can't wait.
Oh yeah, I also appreciate that the seasons are decently long.
Yeah.
I mean, especially I get that it's a shonen, so of course it's going to be. They like to do that, but they also like to take forever to produce another one.
Yeah, I'm just glad they're not pulling a Bleach and cutting the story arc to do a filler arc, and then because I was like, you're killing me, guys.
Right, you get a little filler. There was an episode towards the end of what's available now that I watched where the Seal character, I can't remember his name, but he's on the list, but he's a rescue hero, right?
Oh,
so Froppy and I mean they had a Devil May Cry type episode where on the beach, whatever, cute, but it was only 10 minutes.
It was half the obligatory swimsuit episode.
Absolutely. So we were talking a little while back, and you said you had some other conspiracy theories. Why don't you drop one of those on us? Let's see about that.
Man, so I've been through a lot of them already. Trying to think of one more. I might actually be out.
The one that's sticking in my head, it was pretty out there, but I want to explore it a little deeper. You mentioned, I wanted to say you mentioned Bakugo's mother being also Midoriya's mother or something like that.
Oh, okay, no, okay, not
or something like that.
I don't know about that. I do kind of think All For One might be Midoriya's father. I also think that All For One might have taken Midoriya's original quirk. I kind of don't think that there's anybody who's quirkless. I think there are people who have quirks that never have a reason to manifest.
Right.
And then I think
All For One kind of picks up the quarter off the street, and he's like, "Let's see if I can do some of this later."
The doctor who helped Shigaraki, if you put him side by side with the shot of Midoriya's pediatrician, those two look very, very similar.
Okay.
So honestly, I think that there's at least this one doctor who's out there just feeding All For One right. Good quirks off of kids who just haven't really developed their quirks yet. So I think that plus, and he's one of the most prominent pediatricians in Japan.
Okay.
So
Okay, I like this.
Yeah,
it goes
deeper.
It goes deeper than what we thought.
Yeah, so I think that between that and just quirks that don't manifest themselves because they don't have a reason to, like All Might's quirk of being able to handle extreme power or whatever, didn't have a reason to until he received, One for All. I don't think there's anybody who's actually quirkless.
I like it. It's a hot take.
And I'm trying my best. I do not remember any conspiracies about Bakugo's mother and
I'm not sure where I heard that
Midoriya's
from.
mother.
That may have been Zodiac. Yeah.
That would be that would be interesting, but
it's a completely off the wall theory. But I'm down to explore something goofy like that.
Yeah, no, I mean that's fair. It is sort of weird that Bakugo and his mother look like the exact same character, just one was drawn with boobs. Just straight up, like if you pasted boobs on the Bakugo, you'd get his mother. I swear. Same
eyebrows and everything.
Yeah, just straight up. So they have to be related or at least cloned. I don't maybe Bakugo is a clone, but it's. Yeah, that would be a really interesting series of strings that I'd like to follow. You should hit me with that if you find it again.
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, we're coming up on an hour here.
Yeah. And, you guys. I mean, we're gonna cut out some of the dead space, right. But you guys probably still would like this to shut up now.
You're right. I mean, this is just an episode we were excited about. For the three of you that listened to it all the way through.
Right.
Thank you.
Exactly.
But we'll be back next week.
Oh yeah.
With a new string of just nerddom here at the Geek for Sil podcast.
Spoiler alert! It's all stuff that we're excited to talk about.
Yeah, truly. And if you found us, you're excited to hear about it, or at least to have a differentiating opinion. Yeah, I mean, if you're just here to shout at us, that's cool too. Yeah, because any attention is good attention. That's right. All right. Well. Thank you so much for coming over and recording with me, man. Oh, absolutely, man. I'm loving this. And for the record, this was, I said recording with me. This was David's brainchild. 10 out of 10, the brains behind the operation here. Look, man, I couldn't have done it without you. Well, I mean, you had to have somebody to sit with you. No, I truly, to make this kind of a show, I cannot think of another person that I personally know that I could sit and just take these trips with. So, man, I love you for it. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I love you too. Big hearts. Big hearts. And we'll see y'all next time. Peace. This has been Geek for Sil. Take it easy, guys.